And we are going to get started. Welcome. You are at an Entrepreneurs Forever deep dive. This is a program we put on once a month for our members and for the general small business community to help you for an hour and a half think about a topic that you need to spend more time on, possibly than you're getting in your own group. So we're going to do some quick introductions. And then today is all about the conversation. We do not have much of a formal program, though we're going to tee you off with a few slides, talk about our upcoming programs, and then we're going to get right into it. So I think most of you are aware that Entrepreneurs Forever is an organization with a mission to equalize economic opportunity by connecting often overlooked small business owners with the peers, skills, and support they need to succeed. And today's topic is Bring Us Your Sales Challenge. So I'm actually going to stop sharing for a minute. I'll introduce myself, and then I'm going to have Stephen introduce himself, and then we'll go back to the slideshow. But I'm Deborah Gallant. I have been at Entrepreneurs Forever for about 7 months. Before that, I ran the E for All chapter, E for All, Entrepreneurship for All in Berkshire County, Massachusetts. But for about 20 years, I have been a small business coach working on sales and marketing largely. Now that I have this role at Entrepreneurs Forever, where I facilitate groups and I also run these special programs, I'm really excited to actually help problem solve today with you guys. And also, here's what's really interesting, and I hope those of you who have kept your camera off will feel comfortable enough to turn it on later. I think part of the power of Entrepreneurs Forever is helping each other and making suggestions. And some of the problems that we've gotten sent ahead of time will so benefit from all of us looking at a web page and saying, I don't see this. Why don't you try it that way? There's no one way to do this. And Stephen's going to talk about that in a minute. So I'm hoping we have a lively conversation here. I know it's a bigger group, but maybe there's some great ideas here. So I'm going to let Stephen introduce himself, and I'm going to go back to the program.
Thank you so much, Deborah. So excited to be here. I always like to tell, I've been working for myself now for 23 years, mostly online. And I will tell you, I never thought I would ever work for myself, let alone ever do sales. And ironically, one of my businesses was a sales training business for the local broadcast industry. And so I kind of say that, and I've been in your shoes. And I think we'll talk a little bit about the sales mindset and our perception of sales. And I hope one of the takeaways today is that you get to find your version of what that is, because there's infinite ways to sell. It depends on what you're selling, the type of customer, and just your own kind of strengths of how you like to communicate with other humans. So I currently am back to wearing my consultant hat, working with a local nonprofit here in North Adams, Massachusetts, called Lever, helping entrepreneurs and innovative startups. I also still do business coaching, primarily with a lot of online type of businesses, online services, coaching, courses, products, and had the opportunity to work with Deborah previously for the E4All organization doing their sales session as part of their accelerator. My most recent business is called Life Skills That Matter. Confusing, right? But one thing I've learned about teaching people about business, the biggest problems always come back to the basic life skills. Self-awareness, curiosity, connection. To me, those are the foundational life skills. Those are the life skills that we need to learn going forward as our economy changes more rapidly by the day. It's so funny. A lot of times people ask me, especially a college student, so Stephen, what's like a skill I can learn that I'm going to be able to earn money from for the next 10, maybe 20 years? And I tell them self-awareness. And then they kind of like, they're like, not what you thought, right? So you'll see, I just wanted to kind of lay a little of that groundwork, because you'll see in my responses to you today, it really does come back to a lot of these basic mindset, communication, self-management skills in terms of making sales much more accessible and, wait for it, maybe even fun.
Fun? Nah.
Possible.
All right, I'm going to share screen again, and we are going to go back to view slideshow, and we're going to go on with the presentation. So Now, I need to also tell you this presentation does not take the place of professional advice from your own paid advisors. If it opens your mind and has you thinking about some cool creative things, we will have accomplished something, but please don't sue us if you don't like our advice. I've disclaimed. Okay, so why did you pick this topic? Well, I get to figure out every month what I think our Entrepreneurs Forever community needs to learn about. And I will tell you consistently, I hear sales, sales, sales. Why is that? Because if you don't sell anything, you don't have a business. You might have a hobby, an expensive hobby, but if you don't sell, you don't have an ongoing business. Stephen and I were talking about when he teaches the class for E4All, I always mention, see if this resonates with anyone. Did anyone ever watch the Groundhog Day movie? When Bill Murray gets that guy, Ned, trying to sell him insurance every single day for the whole movie. Yes, a few nodding heads. That's how I think people think, oh my God, I have to be Ned to sell. And the answer is no, you don't. And also selling in 2023 is a lot of combining in person with digital tools and thinking through the customer sales process. And it's going to be different depending on what you sell. And what I love is that the 3 example businesses are about as different as 3 businesses could be. And we hope that many of you will want to volunteer your sales challenges, and we will be talking about them. So this one, I'm going to start off with a fun thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up little thought bubbles. These are the objections we've heard people tell us that they have to sales. And I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand if this one applies to you. Stephen, I can't watch everyone while I'm presenting. So let's see if we can figure out which ones have the biggest reaction. Then we're going to open up the floor to you and have some conversations. So here's one question we hear. I don't know who I should be reaching out to. If this applies to you, raise your hand.
And you could also virtually raise your hand too if you want.
Well, that's what I meant, really, actually. Use that little reaction thing, raise your hand. You can put in chat, yes, that's me. All right, here's another one. I don't know how to even find those prospects. Anybody have that problem? I got a few of those. Okay, next one. I'm not sure the best way to get my prospects' attention. You may have identified them. You might even know how to get them, but how do you get them to pay attention to you? And then how do you create a pipeline of prospects? Because you can't have all of it just pinned on one person, right? I've got one distribution channel that works, right? Maybe I have great referral sources. Maybe I sell well on wholesale, but I don't sell good on retail. I have one that works, but not the others. Since I dislike sales, I just avoid it, and there's no consistency. Oh yeah, that's one. All right. I'm too busy with my current work to look for my next clients. I think that's related to hating sales because you get yourself completely busy, so you're not available. I'd prefer someone else do this, right? I just want to hire. Can I afford it? Does it work? Good question. And when I do outbound marketing, no one responds. You'll hear one of our people today say, I built this fantastic new website and I haven't gotten an order from it. What's that all about, right? My website's supposed to bring me leads. I'm not supposed to have to do this anymore. My web designer promised me. Is that real? How about, I'm just not good at sales. Oh, I hate selling. It feels dirty. Yeah, nobody? And I can't stand being rejected. We'll go back to middle school there. Standing in the middle of the cafeteria with your tray and there's no one to sit with. I just want to pursue my passion. I don't want to sell. So I think that's plenty of examples. So Stephen, the first one, is Tanya on this call? Tanya, if you're here, unmute and tell us you're here. If she's not, I'm going to pass and go on to Leonella next. We'll come back to Tanya. All right, Leonella, you're first up. why don't you tell us about your English for Life network, what your business is and what your sales challenge is. And Stephen and I will take the lead, but hopefully the rest of the folks on this call will want to contribute and share the conversation.
Great, thank you. So my name is Leonela Gonzalez Fogarty. I'm the business owner of English for Life Network. We help women, Latinas, professionals, and entrepreneurs to speak English with confidence so they can conquer the world and grow their businesses. My challenge is that in order to be fluent with a second language as an adult, you need to commit to at least 8 months of fully immersion conversation in order to get that confidence and that level of understanding that you need. I have created a premium ticket that first is like a four weeks diagnostic to know if the person is a good fit and is ready to commit to the work that they need to do. And then I have a 7-month program, fully immersion, that I know if you commit and do the work, you're going to conquer the world. Now, these high tickets, people need to commit and pay full on front, or at least in 2 payments. And I haven't.
Let the group know what you're charging.
So for the first week, I charge $500 for 197. And that's 18 hours of fully conversation to understand where you're at and what you need to do to expose yourself daily. And you talk all the time. And the second one is 9,500. It is a minimum of 387 hours in the whole 7 months. And you increase your daily exposure, your weekly exposure from 7 hours per week until 27 hours per week. I've been selling this. I'm reaching out to companies here in Massachusetts that need to invest in their executive or employees. I have had 2 meetings with a potential client also in Miami. My 3 main areas are Boston, Miami, and New York. I'm originally from Venezuela, so my initial clients are from my Venezuelan network, and I'm starting to reach out Massachusetts companies.
Okay, Stephen, you want to get some clarifying questions around it?
Yes. How many, one thing I always ask a lot of folks is, how much money do you want to make, right? For you personally. And then remember, you're going to have business expenses, personal expenses, you have to pay your taxes. And I always like working backwards from that. And that's one thing in sales. A lot of times when we start in sales, it's like, oh my gosh, there's this big abyss of potential clients that I could go after. I like working in reverse because I would willing to bet that most of you don't need millions of clients. You don't even need tens of thousands or even thousands. A lot of you might need just 5 to 25 clients, especially at the price point that you have. So have you thought about, at least in the next year, how many clients would you like to have enrolled that you're like, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling successful, I'm covering the expenses I want to cover?
Yeah, my goal is 10 to 15 clients per year.
And it sounds like you are targeting businesses that are looking to hire professional Latinas.
Yes, and executive, also professionals that are already here and needs English to communicate better or get better jobs.
And do you happen to know which industries are hiring more professional executive Latinas than others?
No, I've been doing research about it. There are a small business like are doing there is a lot of marketing, and that's one industry. I know that nurses and doctors is another one. I have researched a little bit in I don't know, California, here in Massachusetts. And I also learned recently that in Massachusetts, there are these organizations that are bringing like professionals, like from Chile, Argentina to Boston. So I am in the process to reach out to them.
Great. And the reason why I'm asking these questions for everyone is to, like, we're kind of going through a refining process. So I'm a big, I don't believe there's a one size fits all way to do sales, but a lot of what I will talk about today, and I'll echo Deborah's sentiments too. I'm just one of many voices in your head about how you want to handle your sales. I think my approach is how to make it much more manageable, accessible, and really breaking it down, and to make it much less overwhelming. And one way to do that is to really focus on niches. I really like niches. So for example, there's lots of different industries that you could be going after, but it's worth doing the extra homework, or even talking to some executives if you can, to say, like, but which industries seem to be hiring more executive professional Latinas than others, right? Because we want to go where there's the highest possibility here. So a lot of times in sales, we really have to do that legwork, that research, to find out where these people are that we really want to, that we believe those are the folks that we want to be able to help. And you might then find out there's these top 3 industries that happen to be hiring for most of your target client, and you might just start with one and just really get good at understanding the needs of that particular industry, because maybe you have finance and healthcare, or like you mentioned, marketing, but they have different needs, right? So you really want to understand the nuances of the problem that you have to solve for that industry. What's the turnaround time? How quickly do they want their English perfected? I did have one thought about, so it seems like this is really because there's 2 types of sales for you. You're really going at kind of a direct kind of corporate organizational sale, as opposed to targeting an individual. Was that fair?
Yeah, the challenge has been that I started with individuals, and people keep coming back to me, and that's a big niche too. They cannot pay, at least the one that I have reached out, the Venezuelans that I don't know how much are they making per year, but they are working in all these organizations, small organizations. And for those ones, I guess that I need to let them go. I'm having a hard time.
Well, and also you're all going to go through that, where in the early days, you're kind of testing and trying out your product or service, and you're kind of taking what you can get, right? But then you're learning and refining, so that way you can keep getting rewarded for all the experience that you've gathered, improving your product.
That's what I did these 4 weeks diagnostic, because in that one, my approach is completely different than regular grammar classes. You talk from day one and you really get exposure. And in the past, I've been doing this for 21 days, and people started feeling, oh my God, feeling and realizing I can talk. So doing these 4 weeks helped me to get people start talking, get the confidence, understand what do I mean when I say immersion, because people think that you just talk to a teacher and that's it. And I say, no, you need to expose the brain to more English when you are not with me and it's part of your life. So when I do this for weeks, people really get, okay, I can, this is more possible. I really can go to the next level. Now, the point is, after that, whoever is my ideal client is ready to make the second loop.
But I think Stephen's point is that price point is probably a corporate price point, not an individual price point. So identifying who the decision maker is, who can authorize a $10,000 coaching, however you want to put it, personal professional development is really important.
And I would also look at executive staffing agencies who would, I think, also maybe come across that if they're trying to help place somebody and they realize that they need to brush up on this. At the end of the day, you're selling a skill, right? You're teaching somebody a very specific skill to improve their career. So this is an investment. And the only other thing I was if there happened to be an individual who wanted to do this, I was going to also suggest maybe having a monthly payment plan over the course. That would be a little bit more tenable for something like that. But finally, also of your existing clients, or all the professionals that in the Venezuelan community, like which industries are they working in, right? A lot of times, I always want to remind all of you, we always feel like we have to go to somebody else and all the people that we don't know. We rarely, I really recommend to all of you, is just if you can, as an exercise, if you haven't done this already, write down a list of people. Like I would scan all your social networks, scan all the contacts in your phone, scan all your email addresses, because sometimes we forget. And every time you have that feeling of like, yeah, that could be a potential customer, or this person might know people that I want to reach out to, or they could help me with my business. And you'll be surprised, just scanning the people that you already know, that you already stuffed in your social networks, your phone, and your email. You should contact them first. Like, you already have them, right? And they already know you, they already trust you, you trust them. Start with them. And they might be also excited to hear. A lot of times we also forget to tell the people that we already know what it is that we're doing, that we have this new business, or we're taking a new direction with our business. Sometimes we forget to tell the people already know, and they might already know somebody that they could recommend to you.
That's a good point. And
I have one other observation I want to share, and then I want to open it to the group to see if they have other thoughts for you, is that when you started talking about the number of hours they would be committed to, if I was the employer, right, I'm the HR professional meant to get, Miss X or Ms. X up to speed professionally, I don't want her spending 20 hours a week on English, because she needs to be working. So you have to figure out a way to make it feel like you're not taking away from her everyday work. Otherwise, they're not going to give you. That was just, I was like, how many hours are there in a week that person could spend? It sounded like a lot.
Yeah, no, it's only 3 hours with in person and WhatsApp. What I have to find the best way to communicate is the other immersion, because if you're working in a company where you have some contact with English, you put some English. If you watch TV at night, you put some English. That's what I mean, this whole immersion.
You need to be clear, because it sounded like I was going to do that instead of working.
No. Yeah, that's a good point. And I wanted to say to Stephen that I created a program that I'm launching now for all my former students. That is a monthly payment. It's a 3-month cohort or monthly. So in order to get the conversation going, and I'm testing how it goes with the price. And
even sometimes be in the habit. Another one of my quick sales recommendations. I'm a big believer in habits. And this is for you, this is for everybody, but as you're talking to somebody, whether they say no or yes, always ask them, is there one person you can refer me to, and describe that person. A lot of times like, hey, if you can think of anybody who I might be able to help, let me know. But you're not helping their brain. The brain you need to be very specific. Hey, do you know somebody who is this, this, and this? And you'll even see their face, and a lot of times you'll see their facial reaction actually looks different. Their brain is actually scanning. And they're like, yeah, you know what? I actually do know somebody. I will connect you with them. Or they're like, you know what? I can't think of that person, but I'll be on the lookout. So don't ever do that broad brush like, hey, be specific about who you want somebody to find, and usually just one, because if you just get in that habit of constantly asking for one recommendation, one referral constantly, that's how you will incrementally expand your network, and also get leads that are of higher quality, of the people that you actually want to be able to work with, and that have a higher probability of saying yes.
Let me add one more thing to that is, if somebody says no to you, and it's going to happen, right? If you're selling, you're going to talk to some people and they're going to say no. They still have engaged with you to a point that if they'll let you stay in touch with them, they may not have a lead for you today, and they may not be a customer today, but they might be down the road. And that's how you create a pipeline. So when I was doing business coaching, I have almost 5,000 names on my list, because every time I taught a class, did anything, I collected and got permission to email them. So if someone says, no, I'm not ready to buy, can I put you on my email list? Then you'll hear from me once a month or something. Most people will say yes. I mean, yes, some people are getting a little phobic about it, but then they actually stay in your world and your community, and maybe they turn into something later.
I know we have a hand raised from Mike.
Mike, go ahead.
Quickly, I want to build on that though. Because you brought up the point, like, I know hearing no, right? We have that feeling, that physical feeling in your brain, in your heart, in your stomach, right? I want you to realize, especially in the early days of your business, no often is more valuable than a yes. I know yes translates into money, but no is teaching you about how to run a more effective and efficient business, about what they like and don't like, or who your core customer is or who they aren't. So this is research. You should be salivating and excited to get. You should ask people, Well, why not? I'm just in the early days of my business. I just want to understand what is it that doesn't work for you or could work for you, or that I should think about maybe adjusting. And the other one final thing is never just change your business when you hear it once from somebody. You got to see a pattern. You got to hear it from several people at a minimum. I always call it beware of the data point of one. You would never make a decision just based on one piece of information. Should we?
That's a lot of wisdom. Mike, you're up.
I just want to contextualize a lot of what you guys just said, because it sounds like Leonella, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Okay. You're in a service business. What I've been doing consulting for 23 years on and off, but 90% of my 95+% of my clients have all been people I have a relationship with. And I've done what Stephen said. I've got a list of 200 people that I have working relationships with going back years that are potential clients that I keep in touch with. I don't have 5,000 like Deborah, but it's asking them. And the other thing, and Stephen, I appreciate your perspective on this, not just asking for a referral of people you know, but asking your current clients, can you refer me? Do you know anybody else who could use my services? Because they know what you do and the value of it.
100%.
What's that?
100%. I always say your best salesperson isn't you, it's your happiest clients.
Right. Like almost all my business has been from people I know or them referring me to people they know or they work with. And the other contextualization is, you've heard why no is not the worst thing. Another way to think about it is, particularly all the email marketing we do, is no doesn't mean no, it means not yet. When somebody just doesn't reply or unsubscribes for your newsletter, that's kind of a no. But if they tell you
something you're doing is unclear, so that's why you want to keep getting that clarity. And that's where asking, why did you say no?
Right. Not yet, because I don't understand. Not yet, because I don't think I need what you do. But
and also no clears your schedule to go to people who could be yes. So, they stopped wasting your time and sending you in the wrong direction. There's only so many hours in a day. Getting a no can be refreshing. You can get them off the prospect list and move on.
And that's the other thing too. It's again, back to the psychology of sales is really a lot of our own psychology. I always love working for myself. I think of it as one of the best self-development exercises ever created, because you have no choice but to be honest with yourself. You have to. And I forgot my other thought. I was going to go back to no.
Truth is the easiest lie to remember, Stephen. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it is. But it's, I think, it's again where a lot of times, especially when we're in a no situation, we really get tempted to convince people. Does anybody believe, like, you've been taught that sales is all about convincing people? Anybody feel that way? Yeah, I've often thought that assumption. It isn't. It's about attracting people. And actually, back to like why I teach life skills with people, the very first exercise, so many people ask me, why do you do this? Why is this the first thing you teach people about sales or starting a business? It's clearly understanding your values. Your values, how you give your attention, how you use your time, the people you want to hang out with, is going to dictate so many different things. And the clearer you are with your values, the brighter you're going to shine out in the world, and you're going to attract people just by how you're interacting, how you're writing, how you're doing everything. So that's one of those things I always tell people, we want you to be in the business of attracting people. And that means you can't be all things to all people. You just can't. It's not about being blatantly exclusive, but there's certain people that you're going to do a better job helping. Don't feel bad if you can't help someone, and don't feel bad if they don't feel like you're the right person. So it's really hard. It's like I often tell people, like, it's actively decoupling that. When somebody says no, it's not about, has nothing to do with you. It's just, often it's just like what their needs are, what their values are. And you have such limited time, such limited energy, such limited attention, and you got to use it really judiciously. I'm also not a person who believes in that, you should be spending 100 hours on getting your business off the ground. To me, when people tell me that, it's like, I feel like you don't understand your priorities then, and values help you understand your priorities so you can really start honing in on the people that you have the best shot at helping.
All right. All right, Michelle, you're up next. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business? I don't know if Stephen, if you want to bring up her website at the same time.
Sure. There's actually two websites. Which one would you like me to bring up, Michelle? The Fig Tree Print?
The Fig Tree Print is the informational one that is for my prospects.
Okay. Bring that. Share here.
The other one was set up during COVID because the funeral directors asked me for that. So my business is very niche. It is directed towards the funeral industry. It is customized funeral printed material. If you go to a funeral and you see the little cards, the little laminated cards that you get, or the service program, or the thank you cards, or anything that can be printed, I can do. It's proven to be, once I can get into the door and get that yes, they don't ever go away. Like I don't want to say I walk on water with these funeral directors, but I've never let them down. In the 7 years I've been doing this, I've never let these guys down. But the hard part is it's a very traditional industry. They've always done it this way. They always want to do it this way. Why should I change? And I find it really difficult to get in the door. You can't knock on a door because you don't know if they're with a family. And if you interrupt them for a sales call in the middle of them sitting down to make arrangements with a family, you will never get back in that door again. If you leave a message now, it doesn't get returned. What I have done in the past is I've sent out, I'll research a funeral home, I'll get a service that's happening within the next couple of days, I'll design a card for them and I'll send them out with a catalog, a printed catalog, and some information about who I am. And that's gotten some leads, but mostly it's been through word of mouth. Like one director will tell another director, and that director will say, oh, well, give this one a call. Or one of my best funeral homes, right at COVID, their printer broke because I'd spoken to them and they said, yeah, we like what you do, but maybe we'll just use you for thank you cards in the future. We print the little cards in-house. Now, to give you an idea, the ones that are done in-house are pre-printed for the most part, and you can only do information on the back. You do black text. You can add a photo to it in the front, but they're not really good. You can't design completely from scratch. You have to follow a template. And
Michelle,
not
can I just ask a question? So you sell this to the funeral director who resells it to the family?
Yes. So all the directors have a catalog, and inside the catalog is photos, designs, verses, prayers, and the family can look through this and mix and match or come up with something completely different that they want me to do, that they have an idea. I mean, I put a racehorse on a prayer card, a memorial card. I'm working on now that's got a red tractor, an antique red tractor on the front of it. But this particular funeral home, their printer broke. They couldn't find another one. And they reached out to me and they said, you know, our printer broke. We can't find one. Would you mind printing off a couple of orders for us? Because we need them now. You know, we need them this week and we can't find a printer anywhere. Well, that was right after COVID began, and they are one of my biggest customers still. They never went out and bought another printer. So it's getting these gentlemen, women to actually sit in front of them or sit in a call like this. Because once I'm in front of them physically, I can sell it. But it's that phone call, the initial contact, trying to make with these people and getting them to change. Oh, we've always done it in-house. Well, do you take into account the time it takes you to do them? Do you really want to be sitting in front of a computer and a printer and a laminator at 10 o'clock at night? Because this is the only time you can get to do it. And a lot of them don't look at it as, they don't count their time as valuable. They don't say, well, this is how much time and how much money I'm losing because it's my time that I'm spending doing this. They only look at how much does it cost us to put ink in the printer, How much does it cost us to buy the paper?
And of course, the families are getting a product that's not as good when they do it themselves,
Exactly.
but they don't seem to value that. Okay, Stephen, do you have some specific questions for Michelle?
I have lots of ideas, but I want to this time around see if anybody else from the crew had thoughts or clarifying questions before I jumped in. Anybody, anything resonating, anything popping up? Right, any suggestions, any clarifying questions you would like to ask Michelle?
What's really hard with this subject is it surrounds death and people don't want to talk about it.
I wouldn't think that since your customer is actually the funeral home, they're used to talking about this.
Yeah, and I do talk to families as well sometimes. Like the directors now trust me enough that they can send their families directly to me
great.
when.
Alicia, did you have something you wanted to contribute? Not hearing you. Go ahead.
We got you.
Okay. Have you thought about trying to go to any conventions? Because like I do.
have.
Okay, did that work
I
for you?
have, yeah. It didn't produce. The only one that I got out of the 3 that I went to was the actual uncle of a funeral director I was already working with anyways. And she said, you need to go over to that table. You need to go talk to Michelle. And the harder part to throw a wrench into this is my customers are all Massachusetts, New Hampshire. A year ago, I moved to Indiana. My funeral directors in Massachusetts don't know that I'm here. And they don't need to. I mean, I'm still performing the same thing. Everything's getting done. Jobs are getting to them. I'm always available. But now I'm trying to break into this here. I'm trying to break into the Indiana market. And that's where I'm finding it's just like pulling my hair out.
Leonela?
Yeah, so my question was about what is your challenge? So your challenge now is to reach out to these homes in Indiana where you and do the first contact. Okay.
Yes. I mean, I obviously would like to continue to grow in Massachusetts. And I've spoken to my directors, hey, give me a name. Do you know someone I should talk to? And I've had one respond to me, I'm not going to tell anybody about you, Michelle. You're the best kept secret in the industry.
I think you have a very motivated customer, but it's not the funeral director. Who is it?
Are you going to say the families?
Yes, the families. Because I would say I personally experienced this past year. I had an aunt who passed away, and her son is a graphic designer, and because what the funeral home provided was terrible.
It's awful. Yeah.
So he custom designed. He's like, I'm doing this myself, right? So I think what's also happening is we're so used to having everything customized and personalized now in everything that we do that it still shows up in different parts of society where it hasn't happened yet. And so I feel like when I'm listening to your story, that's what's popping up for me, that I think a lot of them haven't realized that people want customized, personalized prayer cards now. Like that's where we're going. And also, you're right, they're never going to have the bandwidth, the resources to do it. It's absolutely something that they should be outsourcing. So April, one of my suggestions, I like what you had said too, is I think thinking of alternative entities that are a little bit more empathetic than, not saying that funeral homes aren't empathetic, but they're at a different stage of the death process. And there's different, there's different entities working with families. So I appreciate that. The other thing I was going to suggest to you is, how many funeral directors are you already currently working with?
I work with 21 funeral homes in the New England area. Of those 21, there are 9 of them that are continuous. Like I can guarantee orders every week from them. And then the rest of them are like every couple of weeks, I might get one. And it has a lot to do with their selling as well. Like they've got to understand how to sell the product when it gets to their table, to their families.
And how many of those do you feel comfortable with asking, do you know one other funeral director colleague that you can introduce me to?
Of them, the portion of them that order with me every week. It's gone around and around, and they've given me a name, and I've reached out, and it's always the same story from all of them it's a very traditional funeral home with the industry. the biggest one, which is up in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, and they just bought a second home. Yay. He is business minded. Like as a business, this one is run like a business. And it goes right down to the time that they spend with the families. Now, they're not going to say, oh, your time's over. But if the owner sees one of the directors going a little bit long, oh, well, come on, you went a little bit long with that family. Time is money, time is money. But he sees the value in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mike, did you have something you wanted to contribute? Mike Miller, your hand's up.
It disappeared.
Sorry, I was just going to get something from the funeral I went to this morning. And my question is not about the funeral specifically, but I know, getting back what Stephen said, my own experience, I presume that there are very small funeral homes like mom and pop, and then there's big ones like the guy in Chelmsford who's buying other ones and everything else. Is there a certain size of funeral home or characteristic or type that is your prime, potential customer?
I want them all. No.
But who's like in my communications, public speaking coaching, it's small, medium-sized companies, not the big, huge companies I know. So, and it's.
Yeah, so it would be small to medium-sized individually owned homes, 1 to 3 to 4 homes. There's corporations scattered around the country. About last count, about 27% of the funeral homes are corporately owned. The biggest one is out of Texas. But my understanding, the research I've done on, looking into the company as well as talking to funeral directors, you go to them, it's like ordering from a menu that you can't change.
Well, and they don't want to, they want to do it in-house because they don't want to hire you because that's money out of their pocket.
Not only that, they'll set their price. They're so big. And this idea came from, I've lived in Britain for 3 years, just to be quick. I've lived in Britain for 3 years, worked for a company managing a pre-press department. They had 3 divisions: commercial printing, which I managed, school printing, and then funeral. I left Britain, came back home after my son was born, started working for somebody else, and the owner called me up and he said, listen, we just sold to a company in the United States. I want to start doing some market research. First, you're going to do schools. First, then you go into funeral home. Yeah, I'll go back to work for you. You're great. Did the schools, market, looked into that launched. And then he said, let's start the funeral side. Well, the company wanted to float in the market. So they said, oh, we're going to cut everything that doesn't make any money. That was me. But my husband had said, Michelle, don't go get another job. You're 75% of the way through the marketing. Just do it yourself. So the products that I saw in Britain were so much nicer than what I was seeing here. And that's why I said, well, I've got to do something. I can do this. And I'm standing here. So go ahead.
You have a couple, there's an unconventional strategy, and then there's another very direct sales strategy I'd like to throw out there in the context of as letting everybody know kind of about these options. Again, you might potentially start looking more toward grieving families, bereavement families, to create pressure that they would want to ask for something like this, that if and when the time comes and you're working with somebody, you might want to suggest this customized, or I could do it for you, so that way you don't have to have that option from a funeral home, because that's where the families get it. They want it. They just have to. You're making it easier for them to find and ask for, because they might be able to just order it right through you and then give it to the funeral home. That's an option. I again, with my own personal.
I actually want to give you a contrary opinion, because there's no one right way, right?
Right.
I think the sales approach needs to be the problem that you're solving for the funeral directors, which they don't know they have, which is that they haven't kept up with the times, and customers expect and anticipate this, and you're their outsourced printing department or creative department, and that they can make money off you. To me, those elements make it pretty compelling for a funeral home. And I don't see that on your website. I see that just telling me what it is. What's the value proposition for that funeral director? If there's upside for me, I can make more money. my clients and customers are demand this, and you're going to give me this opportunity to make more money, I'm in. Let me in.
Yeah,
I,
I put out these little tip-ins it's a newspaper that goes out once a month to all the funeral homes around the country, and you can pick per state. And I have this, it's a tip-in, it goes in and it gets printed, and then when the funeral homes open it up, there it is. It's like advertisement, and it does list, no more maintaining printers, no more stocking ink, no more stocking paper, no more standing in the middle of the night laminating.
I think it's different though. I don't think it's standing at a printer. It's here's a revenue opportunity, that it's a revenue share that you don't have to do anything with, and it meets your customer needs. That's my opinion. I don't think it's about the printer. I see Alicia and Mike both with their hands up.
So I'm on your website right now looking at it, and there's so much great information. You have so many great options. But you're saying that you are trying to market specifically to funeral directors. When I go to your website, your FAQ is completely geared towards the family. Is there a reason that it's almost like completely?
So that the directors could answer the questions if the families ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about educating them. So if their families say, well, what's the turnaround? How quickly do I need to get you the stuff? Those are right there. I mean, the other thought I had is, if I try to drive families to make the funeral homes change, what about a billboard? Because they have a lot of digital billboards around here that you can rent pretty cheaply. Well, some type of design for a digital billboard. Have your funeral home contact me, because I don't really. I don't want to go directly to families. It's never been the model of my business. I want it to be the director to introduce me to the families. I think that is, because when I answer my phone, when it rings, if it's my business phone or my personal phone, it's always, good morning, Michelle speaking. I never say my business name, because I want to be the person in the back room helping the funeral home do this and provide this to their family. So it looks like the funeral homes are producing these beautiful things.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I am unmuted. I want to tag off of something Deborah said, because you really, I think what you're doing, it sounds like, is really a B2B, not a B2C. You're selling to the funeral homes, not to the families. And one thing that you're in trying to help them appreciate the value to them is like, does this make my business perform better, look better, sell better? And one thing I always talk to people about is getting testimonials. And I've got a wacky idea for you. Go to like Yelp for your current customers and see if anybody has left a review of those funeral homes that mentioned how great the programs or the prayer cards or anything else that reflects your work for that funeral home. I fortunately, I've been going to too many funerals, and I've seen some of the crap and some of the crappy funeral homes processes and managers. But and if actually we went and looked at the Yelp reviews from for something, they may not be there, but if it is, you can use that as a testimonial. You can just use a Yelp review for a client without mentioning the client. And it shows how your work makes them look better, makes them.
It's not a crazy idea. I like that, Mike. Tanya, you've had your hand up.
Yes. So a couple things. If you are going to direct to the businesses, then your front page should not have all this selling stuff, because it's about your home page. Should not have all this selling stuff. That should be on a services page or products page.
Which website are you looking at? Are you looking at the Big Tree Print? Okay.
Big Tree Print. If you're going straight for funeral homes, I would have two pictures here: a funeral home, and then a grieving couple, grieving family. And then this is our family website. Click here, and that takes you to that side, and this takes you to the other side. That's one thing. Two, I plan funerals, so I only work with people that I know are vetted and current. And I'm looking at your stuff. All these pictures that you have on here, say 2015, 2017. Yeah. If I scrolled through there, I would not hire you just for the fact of that. I would say, where the heck has she been? Did she quit pre-COVID? Is she out of business? Because I don't see anybody that died in 2023. I don't see anybody that died in 2022. And to me, that says that there's a gap for your work. So I would get rid of all those pictures or change the dates on them and maybe change the people's names. I mean, I'm in Pittsburgh. I don't know if that's different throughout the country, but I plan throughout the tri-state area, Ohio, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh for funerals, weddings, events, whatever. And those are just a few things that I saw of of working for you. And I
would like to close out with one other thought, an idea, because Michelle, I think you're really passionate about this. And I think there's a really big educational need in this industry to wake up to say, people don't want this method anymore. So I feel like, especially in sales, you want to really tap it and harness and celebrate your passion for this and really get up on your soapbox and take out the megaphone. And something I often recommend to people, because you have such a defined niche, right? It is possible to make a list of every funeral home in the state, right? Have you reached out to every single one?
No, I've been going, with the statewide, I put something in every month into that newspaper, and I'll get bites here and there of people calling and information. I had a conversation with one last week, and they said to me, "Do you print in Indiana?" I said, "Well, no, I'm still printing in Massachusetts."
Yeah. Because
I've had contact with a printer here to discuss, but right now my printing is still being done in Mass. Oh, okay. And that seemed to be like a end game right there.
But here's the other why I also bring this up. So say, how many funeral homes are in Indiana?
Oh God, I in my head I couldn't tell you, but there's well over 400. I think was the last.
The way, from a sales perspective, I always start I like spreadsheets. There's no one way to do this, but I would have those 400 potential leads in a spreadsheet. I'd send out an email educating them on how prayer cards are radically changing and what families and consumers want now. And then you are actually going to get, if you send out to 400, and I would send them out individually, no mass emailings, because you want them to be able to get through, you are going to get responses. Sales is a numbers game. So of those 400, you're going to have maybe 5 people who reply who are like, I would like more information. Because I learned this little sales kind of poem from somebody ages ago, the process of developing a relationship. Know me, like me, buy me. Know me, like me, trust me, buy me, recommend me. And a lot of you are at that stage, and Michelle, at that stage of the know me stage. You actually have to just go through that stage of like, you know what? I just let every funeral home in the state of Indiana know that I exist, and this is a problem I want to solve. It's that step one. And yeah, some are going to end up in spam. Some are going to tell you no. Some will say yes.
So just to piggyback on Stephen's idea, what if you sent the 400 emails and you sent also a manila envelope with 5 samples in it and a letter saying, I just sent you an email. I want you to have in your hand a chance for you to make more revenue, get this off of your problem, all that. I mean, it's a multifaceted approach that I think would really get them through that know, like, and trust funnel.
Would you include in those 400, Stephen and Deborah, for both those ideas, would you include or exclude those corporate chain?
When you're at the know me stage, you contact everyone, in my book. I mean, what I love, Michelle, for you, and for some of you, it's more challenging. You have a very clearly defined sales pitch. As a salesperson, I love that part of it's super simple for you. And through this conversation, often when we think that we're offering this product or service, there's a deeper problem that we're actually solving here, and you're creating a new revenue opportunity for the funeral homes, and you're responding to consumer demand in a way that they aren't, and they need to wake up. So, and I would just want to leave you all with that, is to tap into the passion. Like, you're all doing what you're doing because you're really excited and motivated about it, and don't shy away from that, because that is infectious.
So I want to close by saying, I think you should say to that objection about not printing in Indiana, it's like, it's going to be in your office by FedEx tomorrow. Does that really matter?
One thing we do invitations in-house as a wedding and event planner. And I just say, oh, we print in-house. I print in Texas. And then I have it shipped to me, and then I turn around and ship it to them. And
well, that's why I like the directors, is because I let the directors tell them, I'm an outside source, or I'm in the dark, dingy basement working for them right now. It's up to them. And when
It shouldn't
they ask
matter.
me
You're right.
prices,
Yeah, that's irrelevant. I just would say I print in-house, and don't tell them whether you print in Massachusetts or Indiana. It's irrelevant.
And actually, Tanya, since you're unmuted, we did try to go to you first, but you came on late. So
Sorry.
that's okay. Why don't you, oh, Jabril, did you want to say something?
You're muted.
You're still muted.
I'm sorry, guys. I was just, as everybody was talking, I was just thinking about even like content. Like if you made certain content that kind of spoke to that from a story perspective. So like you create a story around the prayer cards and everything like that, and you put that out, and you put that type of content out on your platforms, your distributing platforms that you use to reach people. That will also be a way to where it just brings awareness to like the importance of that prayer card and how it makes them feel. And you really start to pull on those heartstrings and everything like that.
And you can get some of that information, Michelle, from go to your clients that you have already and say, why did you hire me? What made you choose me? And they're going to tell you the answer. And then you can type that into an AI bot thing and on the internet somewhere, Jasper, whatever, and it'll create words for you to help you speak this language and get this word out more and more. So.
All right, Tanya, you're up.
Okay, I've been in business for 24 years. I've been voted the best wedding and event planner in Pittsburgh for 8 years in a row now. I also own a DJ company, a photo booth company, an invitation company, and recently a rental company. And I already have all the rentals. I'm doing it all in-house. That's what I tell everybody. I got it in-house. Whatever you want, I got it. And I don't care if I don't have it. I'll get it. So I go get it. I make it, create it, whatever needs to be done. So the rental company, I paid $10,000 to a company here in Pittsburgh to design it for me. And they did not do anything that I asked them to do. So I had to redo it myself, which took forever. Finally got it up and running in September of last year. And then I had to redo it. So just got it the way I want it now, about a week ago or so. But the whole time you were able to purchase. And yep, that's me. And you were able to purchase any of our products, but no one has bought anything. Now people call me. This is already like from September to now, this is a $60,000 business. Last year from September 18th, when I launched, to October, November, December, was a $60,000 business because people know who I am. And now they're like, oh my God, she opened her rentals up. So they go here because it's attached to everything else. And we're ranking for a lot of things because I'm into that. But I'm trying to figure out, and I have people say, oh, well, I didn't meet the $500 minimum. I only want $300. Can I do it? And I'm like, yes. And then I go take care of it. And it doesn't go through the website. But there's been people that bought draping for $5,000 and they called me. So I don't know why they are not going through this and putting stuff in their cart. I don't know if it's too personal. If it's too personal, like it's such an intimate decision that they're not,
I was, as long as you're going there, that was one of my gut reaction was, this is a very intimate decision and they like talking about it back and forth. What about this? What about that? And also the price point is quite high for somebody to feel comfortable about wanting to make that purchase through the internet, right?
Okay.
I think people are still, that's like the next phase for more and more people to get comfortable with that type of thing. So that was, the other thing I'll just share with this, if you're familiar with backlink checkers.
Yes.
So I'm just going to share this so everybody can also see this for your website. This is Ahrefs. There's many different backlink checkers on the web. Ahrefs is, a very popular one. It's not working on my computer right now, But you just type in your domain name, and I would have it on the subdomain, so that'll scan all of your pages. But it'll show what a backlink is, like other websites that are linking to your website. So that's direct traffic.
Yeah.
But secondarily, search engines like Google want to see how many backlinks are coming into your website and how frequently, and that ups your ranking.
Okay.
You had like single digits for your backlinks. So that is one huge problem for, I would say, for the conversion on the website, I think.
Being a baby, how do I get more?
So the next thing where I think where you have this is like backlink and then SEO, everybody. We're having a little web. Yeah, everybody I'm going to turn this off for a second.
Yeah.
You have like a lot of niche things that you can rent that I didn't even know that you could rent. And I was like laughing and having fun going through the website, right?
Okay, cool. Tell me some fun things. Tell me some fun things that were shocking.
I mean, like the slushy machine, or like you could have the s'mores fire pit, and like all of a sudden it was like, wow. I think what you offered was like people, I don't think they even knew like how customized and more affordable their event could be, because it always seems like a super rich person can only do all that type of stuff, right?
Okay, cool.
So I think some things to think about, like what are the most asked for different quirky things, or what has the highest profit margin. And so say like it is like the slushy machine for SEO, I would like write every single question somebody has about that thing and write a little blog post. So you're going to get all that search engine mojo when people are looking for slushy machine rental in Pittsburgh, and you come up, right? Yeah. So a lot of times we want to make sure we're concerned about our entire website coming to the top, but a lot of times it's these niche things, right? And that we want them to come through like all these other subways. Or very niche, very narrow. The other thing is, again, because you are like Michelle, you have a very definitive market. You have a lot of times you have a couple of different lead lists, right? It is wedding planners, but it's also event planners. It's event spaces. There could be, then there's all the bloggers or social media influencers doing wedding stuff in the greater Pittsburgh area. Again, if I were in your shoes, I would have that know me strategy and say, here's all the different stuff that a lot of people getting married don't even know to ask at their wedding. I just want to let you know of a few of these things and make sure they blanket that. Like you said, you already have a well-developed network. Sometimes as you're hearing in a lot of the things going around here, there's you can't do everything. You have to do the ones that you're motivated for, or that you already have a lot of strengths in. So you already have a lot of strength, it sounds like, in the event planning market in Pittsburgh. So it's, again, I would be leveraging your existing network and really focusing on all the unconventional stuff that you can rent, or if there's stuff that you're making easier to rent compared to how it's already being rented. So I'm going to stop there because Mike has a question and I can go on and on, but I'm just going to stop there for a second.
Okay.
Mike?
Thank you.
I didn't see your website when you flashed it up there.
I'll pull it back up.
Thank you, Stephen.
No, don't put it up, Stephen. I went and Googled your name and events, Pittsburgh, whatever. And I came up with actually, one is an events website, one is a rental website.
Yep.
It came up like as providers for like other ones and all sorts of. Is there a reason why you've got a concierge website that's completely separate from your rentals website and not like this suite of services we provide?
We absolutely do concierge services too. We provide car service. We pick you up, take you to, like, if you need wedding, anything like that. That's our concierge services, our planning aspect.
But you don't get, like, under the events rentals, they're different stuff. There's different rentals under the two different websites. That's why I was a little confused. I don't know if that's a strategy or that's just.
Wait, which websites are you comparing?
Eventrentalsofpittsburgh.com.
Yes.
And eventsofpittsburgh.com.
So Events of Pittsburgh was started like 20 years ago, and it's a planning company, and it just has a few of the rentals. We mostly use it to, like, it talks about if you want a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, or a social gathering, you would hire us for planning through that website. And there's just a few rentals on there because we never used to do rentals.
But I think Mike's question is valid, do you need 3 brands?
Yes. When I'm talking to men, if I talk about weddings, they shut down and I don't get corporate deals from them at all. If I just landed the March of Dimes and about 4 or 5 banks in my area, and I'm doing all their like top brasses coming in for the banks. The only way men talk to me is when I say events of Pittsburgh. If I say weddings, they're shut down. I do not get them as clients.
And,
So
and
I
I'll,
don't know.
and I will like also.
But maybe
now-
I could get some backlinks from that.
Oh, I see. Event rentals is specifically focused on weddings.
I would validate that for you too, because a lot of times, especially with the kind of selling you're doing, these high-end ticket numbers, and your website really is a sales kit, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're kind of going through with them. And Deborah brought up this point earlier before we jumped on the call. Really the call to actions, and you talked about this, validate, like kind of observing the behavior. They're calling you up and asking you questions. Maybe the better call to action is to like schedule a 15-minute consultation.
Okay.
You know, because if that's already happening, capitalize on that, really do it. And then just meeting you and how long you've been doing this, I think you would be pretty dangerous once you get somebody on the phone.
Oh my God. I upsell the daylights out of them.
Well, Tanya, I think the fact that you made $60,000 despite your website means that maybe your website is more of a brochure, and what you're trying to encourage, like when I had a giant party in my backyard, I actually found a rental margarita machine, which, believe me, where I live was not easy. They had to drive 70 miles for it. But
Yep,
here's the
I've done
thing.
that.
If I had known there was a s'mores fireplace and kit, I would totally have bought it, but they didn't try to sell that to me because they weren't as smart as you are. So if your call to action is, if you're planning an event and are thinking about the components, call me and let's brainstorm creating a great event. And who cares if they use your online
website.
e-commerce, right? Does it matter?
Not really. I just wanted to know if I was doing something wrong, because you are hitting the nail on the head. I definitely McDonald's them. Would you like fries? Would you like Coke? Would you like a pie? Would you like something? I mean, I ask everything.
Yeah, you have a really natural upsell opportunity because people don't even know to like ask for this stuff. You know what I mean? It's so fun that.
Yeah, and I apologize. On the one website, you do have the sister companies thing at the bottom, which is good. And,
Yeah.
and I fucking hate those men. Sorry, oops, we're recording.
Another thing to edit out. Oh my goodness. All right, Mike, you had an idea that you wanted to share, but I want to see if anyone else wants to give Tanya any feedback first.
Yes, give me good juju. What should I do?
Ask current clients for referrals of other people, like your bankers and everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this keeps coming up. A lot of times I know, like, I was way on board in the early days of digital. Like, I was like, people hired me to teach them how to do all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been on social media in 14 months now.
Wow.
Because I do see, back to the attention thing, and sales is all about attention. I think that really came through when Michelle was talking, that I think, you know, the analog, old human, word of mouth, get in front of people ways, I think especially after the pandemic, are really still very effective. And depending on what you're selling, it might be way more effective. So I think there's a balance, there's a blending here. It's not an either or situation, but sometimes I think there has been an overemphasis on digital, and that works very well for certain things that you're selling, but in others, especially when it comes to services, you really need that human component still.
Yeah, especially if it's what I call a high consideration purchase. In my coaching business, I found that if someone said yes to me because they saw one webinar that I did, or they read my LinkedIn profile, it wasn't a good fit. We need to actually have that first call and find out if they really wanted to work with me and what they wanted to work on. So make sure that you have created a sales process that's in keeping with what it is you're selling and the information needed by that client to make a good decision. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible client relationship.
How can I dig deeper on that? How can I dig deeper on my client process?
The way, I'm going to jump in because I wanted to mention this. I used to run an accelerator, and everybody would be Steven, don't talk about outreach again. I was obsessed. I call it your outreach habit, which is sales, but I wanted to make it more accessible. The number one thing you should be spending most of your time on, and people could say no, but I do believe this is your outreach habit, and it should not be a to-do list item. So that way, it's a little bit different for every one of you, whether you're a phone person, an emailer, on social media, you like to go to events, or a mix of these things, whatever your method is. You want to recognize that you have this habit and you want to keep getting better at it. And on a weekly basis, you want to kind of have some metrics. What is the minimum amount of phone calls or emails that I got out? Again, this is a numbers game. And we were talking about kind of maintaining motivation. This is why you have to kind of make it fun. Like maybe you're going to do this niche. I always like to say like, ooh, I just want to learn about this niche or why people are going to reject it this time. Or then the next week, maybe I'm selling a slightly different service in my portfolio of things that I'm selling. So that way you're constantly, your brain loves novelty. So that if you can just kind of on a weekly basis, kind of figure like, what's like the thing this week of what I'm going to be focused on. So that way by the end of the week, I hit my numbers. I also felt like I learned something. And that way you're always maintaining your motivation. If you're doing and maybe your design, you can do the exact same thing over and over, day in and day out, month after month, year after year. Most people are not designed like that. Great. That's great. So I think bring awareness to your process. I mean, that's like a whole other webinar. I call it your customer journey, from how they are first becoming aware of you all the way through how are they recommending you, right?
I would come to that.
It's because this is a relationship. And most people, when they find out about you, aren't ready to buy right then and there. But then there's a chunk of people who are like, I love you, but I'm just not ready to have questions. And that's where this whole strategy, that's where digital comes in. It's really powerful. How to follow up, how to keep in touch with them, how to keep educating them so you stay in front of them so when they are ready to buy. And obviously there's the bucket of people, again, those no's, who are the world. They tell you exactly who not to go after, how to talk to your clients. I mean, there's so many times like when you get stung or you feel resistance, don't resist it. Lean into it and be like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but it's a lesson. What's happening here? I'm like, oh yeah, not this approach again, or not this word, or let me try a little experiment. This one person said it. Is it a thing? Is this really a problem? And that's where we have to, the only way to do it you got to get the numbers. You have to have that flow in the habit. It's the number. When anybody tells me that they're stuck or they have a problem in their business, it, for me, is always a sales problem. Always.
Yes. I will tell you, when you say lean into it, like, so I started out as a wedding and event planner. And so here in Pittsburgh, planners don't collaborate. They keep their secrets to themselves. They don't share. They don't tell anybody anything. So they keep it all quiet. And I was like, how can I break into that? Because planners are who I want to be with, but they're intimidated by me because I've been voted the best in Pittsburgh 8 years in a row. So they don't want to work with me for rentals because they're afraid I'll steal their clients. And I'm like, so I started offering a referral program to planners and just meeting with them and getting on Zoom calls, whatever, and just saying like, hey, I want to pay you more money because you deserve more money. Like we all should be making what I make, not just because I'm a high-end planner. And they're like, well, tell us more. And I'm like, okay, well, if you refer my rentals, then I can come and make you look good. And I will, because I want my reputation to be stellar as it is. But I will take care of this for you. You won't have to worry about it. And this is something you can just make money off of on the side. And so I have 2 planners now that strictly refer me for any rentals, tables, chairs, huppas, whatever, any kind of weird stuff. This one girl wanted a 7-foot cross. She's like, Tanya doesn't have it on her website, but she probably can find one. Mm-hmm. And I found an antiquity dealer that could come up with it. So I'm the finder of all things here in Pittsburgh, but who would have thought go to another planner? That is not done here. That is not conventional. So, but also for me.
To build on that with Michelle, and we're starting to hear this, a lot of times we often think this is the problem we're solving, but this is the sales thing. This is why you've got to embrace that no, because all of a sudden you're like, what's going on here? What's another way of looking at this? Maybe there's a deeper problem to solve here that's not necessarily ever going to be all over your website, but that's where you got to listen for it. I often call it your magic question. And when all of a sudden the most introverted, shyest person starts like telling you everything, you are getting into something deeper. And that's where you want to keep testing that out. And that's really the heart of how your business really starts growing faster with less effort.
Yes. Do you have a customer journey course or class or
I have
something?
a whole
Are you in one of our groups? Are entrepreneurs?
Yes,
for-
I'm in the Kit Tanning group.
All right. Ask
Terry Doherty is mine.
Tell Terry you want customer journey. There's a
Okay.
curriculum piece on this.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Mike Miller, you're up.
So this is a very specific query I have for the group and the experts. You're all experts. Let me rephrase that. I'm the only dumb one here. So I got a request for a proposal. I've been doing consulting for like 20 something years mostly. So mostly in healthcare, life sciences, but a lot of what I've done is helped clients with their presentations, their speeches, moderation. I've moderated for people. And I realized about a year ago through E4All, actually, who was mentoring, that something I've done is helping them. And that's like a service I can offer. So I started focusing and selling what I call public speaking coaching, or speech and presentation coaching, or people call it public speaking coaching. A lot of other people do this, but they do like training, like group trainings for people. And it's a much better business model. This organization that a friend of mine now took over and is running, about 40 people, they came and asked me would I do training for all their employees, like a morning session, afternoon session, like 20 and 20. So I talked about it. They said the mid-level HR person said they don't have a budget, blah, blah, blah. And I explained how I do things and I could customize it. And I know their industry, it's in the medical field. I'm a physician by training. That's been a long time ago. And so I thought about how to structure it, and I structured it really well, I thought, and I figured out how to price it. And everybody always told me, for going back, that I don't charge enough for a lot of stuff. So I put in what I thought was a fair price. And I also looked on the web to see what other big, public speaking training companies would charge. Most of their things were in person pre-pandemic. This will be under Zoom. I've been talking to people the last few weeks. I didn't get an immediate response. They told me they were going to consider it. I followed up and they said they're still thinking about it. I'm wondering if I overpriced it because a lot of other people would have put in a very low price and used this all as a loss leader, thinking I'm going to get in, I'm going to meet all 40 of these people, and maybe some of them will come along then as, coaching clients. They'll have a speech, they'll have a presentation, they'll have some meeting they want me to moderate, and that's what I can charge for. That's where I make the money, where I should have charged a relatively low price, something that didn't seem ridiculous, like what I'm going to do isn't worth anything, but I should have charged like proposed like a third of what I put in the proposal. I can tell you, if people are interested, I can tell you what I charged, if that would be useful. But anybody's reaction to that, doing a public speaking training program? Stephen probably does. He's been
Beware of the data point of one. You're trying to make a decision about your pricing your business based off of one client interaction. If this happened 3 or 4 times, then there's something to dig into.
And by the way, you don't know that it's the price they objected to.
Exactly.
I know, but I've been talking to people about this and trying to understand the business model of sort of the competitors in the marketplace.
Well, here's the other thing. Like I told myself long ago, again, a little unconventional, I don't have competitors because there's only one me. There's only one of me in humankind. This is the only time that Stephen Warley will ever exist. This is it. Yeah, sure, there's lots of other sales trainers and business coaches, but it's how I do it. Again, like there's certain people who are really into how I talk about things, and there's a lot of people who are not into it. That is back to that values exercise I was talking about. This is where you got to get at to understanding who you are and how you do things. I really always advise people, you want to resist trying to compete on price. You want to show them the value of what it is you do and how you do it. And that way, when you're in that conversation, all of a sudden they're like, we just got to figure out how to work with you.
Well, that's exactly was my thinking, because I'm a subject matter expert in their industry. Whereas anybody else who's going to come in And you and I should have coffee at Tunnel City to talk more about this.
Well, also the other thing, back to again, and everybody, like Michelle is endlessly giving me Michelle and Tanya and Leonana. Oh, I'm sorry.
Leonella, yeah.
Leonella, so sorry. It's getting to the bottom of the hour. It's your story, right? A lot of times, like I tell people, you know what people buy? They're not buying language services or consulting. They're not buying prayer cards. They're buying a story. That's it. It's a story. And that way there's the story of the person that you're working with and what they're going through, that customer journey. There's your story, or why you're so passionate about what it is you want to do, and all the experience that you've gathered over the years and all the different skills that you've worked on. Like, Mike, part of your story is this, like, you're a public speaker and presentation, but you're also a former physician. Like, you can talk about all the inside baseball stuff in a way that I could never do, right? So what that helps in is, like, again, this rejection process is, and if you can, ask them why it didn't work out, or what did it, just because, you know.
I haven't gotten a no yet, so that's why I'm trying to do another follow-up discussion.
Yeah, and always, if you can, press for understanding. Like, no, but you know, a lot of times, if you can, sometimes even you have, like, just be honest where you're at. I'm in the early days of my business, and I just want to know what I need to be fronting here. Why do you think this worked out at this point?
I've resisted talking to my friend as the CEO, but just calling him up.
Leonella? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for my guy, think about what is your value, what have you seen that works. You know, if training 20 people at the same time, it's going to hurt the quality of the value that you're providing. You know, it's stick with that, because I think as an expert, you really know how to get that transformation, even if it's in 2 hours, what people are going to get in whatever 2 hours. And the person that is hiring you doesn't know what is the process of the employee going through that process to be confident and, you know, speaking. So you know the curriculum, you know what people need when they're ready.
I completely agree. I think training programs like this, group trainings for things like this, are really of minimal value. That's why I try to focus on the coaching. But I see other people, and sorry, Stephen, I'm going to do compare to others in the industry. They sell these trainings because they can charge a lot more for them, and they can get, like, repeat business. They can have training 1, training 2, training 3, training 4, you know, and then get individual stuff. It's a better business model, but I want to provide value for the client. And that's why I think the one-on-one coaching is much better value, particularly, for them. But I agree.
And then you have to find, but the trick is you have to find the clients that are into the one-on-one coaching. Remember, you have to convince them. If they're into group coaching, they're going to go over here.
That's why I sent the proposal. Yeah.
And a lot of times, this is longer term. Somebody, especially as a coach, you might have a basic intake form on your website that asks, like, 3 basic questions, like, what kind of training or coaching do you prefer? This, or this? And that kind of weeds them out, either like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be a good fit for you, or like, yeah, you're great for me, let's schedule a call. So there's a lot of that time. Your website can be a great screener for that. And a lot of times you're saving yourself time and saving them time. And you might even have referrals in the way that Tanya had. You might even have maybe a referral program with another group coaching company and saying, hey, I don't do that, but I really recommend this one.
Well, I've tried to do that, and my website is a bit of a mess, frankly. But what I have put up is 8 case studies of people I've helped with the one-on-one coaching. So that's
yeah. We are at 5:27. I really am delighted that so many of you stuck with us. I had hoped that you would all speak, but I guess even just lurking was a good experience, or you wouldn't have stayed with us this long. And I hope you really got the message that there's not one right answer. There's lots of possibilities, and you need to be open to thinking about things in a different way, maybe than you started with. I think Tanya, once she told me she made $60,000, it's like, yeah, where's the problem here? I think the problem is in your head, that you had this imaginary website that was going to throw off money, but you have a sustainable, great business, and good for you. I wish we had time to conquer more, but this was great. Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our people who put themselves in the hot seat, we thank you very much and hope you got some value out of this.